All right, guys. If you catch the replay of this, I just decided to do a StreamYard instead of just make a whole video of the fight that we had tonight. So it was a pretty good card tonight. It was full of action. Each fight presented some action with it. The first fight was Eduardo Ramirez versus Miguel Flores, and it was at the featherweight division. Now, that fight right there, it was just the problem is with Miguel Flores is he already suffered a knockout. He already got knocked out before. I think prior to that fight, he had three knockouts. Like three guys knocked him out before. So I don't know. I don't think he was in just a right state of mind to really like gauge the fight the way he should have. For the simple fact that when you look at Miguel Flores, all he was doing was just coming forward. It was like no game plan with that guy. And with Ramirez, he already had a game plan. He was like, well, all I have to do is time that dude because he keeps on coming forward, leaving himself open. And that's exactly what he did. He timed him, and the hook hit him very hard. And that hook, man, it led to him having a gusher mouth. Okay, that dude had blood coming all out of his mouth after he hit him with that hook. I was just like, okay, well, so be it. You know, so it is what it is. So I think it was like the fifth round or so, or maybe like seventh. I don't remember exactly, but that served its purpose. I mean, and he just hit him flush. The hook hit him flush in the chin, and so that was it. In regards to that. Now the second fight, it was I want to say, um, it was Josesito Lopez versus I believe his name Francisco Santana. And so that fight, I mean, everybody expected it to be, a war, just toe to toe and things like that. But it was actually kind of like the complete opposite because of the simple fact that Josesito Lopez, he decided that he wanted to box more than brawl, you know, and that's exactly what he did. He pretty much just boxed. He didn't want to brawl, you know, and that proved to be successful. And another thing that proved to be successful was the simple fact that he was going to the body, digging to the body. I mean, you heard them body shots like bam, bam. They were really getting to him. They were really hurting him badly. And so I think it was, I believe in the ninth round that, you know, when you attack the body, what happens is that the head will follow. And that's exactly what happened. You drop when you drop your when you drop your hands because your body is like basically not holding up. Because I'm gonna tell you something. When you're getting hit to the body, right? That affect that affects your whole stature. That affects the way you stand and stuff like that. It leaves your legs wobbly. When you're getting hit to the body because your core's not holding up. So what happens is that your legs, you lose your legs up under you. And so your body basically begins to, I should say that with accumulated body shots, your body begins to droop. Everything from your body begins to droop. So that's exactly what happened with Francisco Santana. It's just accumulation of body shots just led that dude to have open headshots, and he was taking some shit to the head that left him dazed. I mean, his eyes. There were times in the fight where his eyes were going to the back of his head. I'm like, damn, this nigga is taking some shit right here. So that's exactly what happened during the fight. Is he was taking a lot of shit, you know, and so eventually it got stopped. Now, the one fight that this fighter I am now looking forward to seeing because he is a damn freak of nature. This dude is 6'6", lanky as ever. Okay, it's almost like he's a damn twig. Okay, it's crazy. Okay, he's 6'6", but he makes 154. And I'm like, what the hell? How is this possible? But the fight with his name is Sebastian Fedora. Him and you know I'm African. You know I'm proud African and whatnot and what have you. But I have to keep it a spade a spade. Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be pretty for the African dude, Habib Ahmed. I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. I mean, I even predicted that, man. He's going to stop him in the fourth, bro. Like, it's just that he's way overmatched with that kid. And he stopped him sooner than the fourth. He stopped him in the second. That kid, bro, that kid got some La Cucaracha in his hands because you heard them shits. I'm like, damn, for someone so skinny and so lanky, I'm like listening to him hit, and those things are sounding like M80s. I'm like, shit, this I don't know what he has in his hands, but that nigga hits hard, okay? He hurt him in the first round. The thing is what happened in the first round is, you know, all he did was pretty much back up, hit him with an uppercut. That nigga was like really feeling the uppercut, and then it just continued on. Because I mean, you gotta understand something. This nigga is 6'6". How are you gonna find a way to get in on this a nigga who's 6'6"? You know, it's just like how can you how can it really be done? You know, when it's just, I mean, it would be different if this dude didn't have no power, but this dude got power. Okay, that's the whole problem. This dude really got some power. Okay, behind his punches, you heard them shits. Them shits sounded like firecrackers. Okay, so when you have someone like that, I'm telling you, bro, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be a good look. And you know, I you know, I got to keep it a spade, and I got to be realistic. If I were to say that Habib Ahmed was going to win that fight, I would be lying to myself. You know, I would be like, it would be like me being a fool. You know, and so I just knew that he wasn't going to win that fight. You know, although he trains in Florida, he trains with a good coach. I believe he trains with the coach of Luis Ortiz, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I believe he's under him as we yeah as we speak. I think he's under that dude. I think he had to change your trainer, you know. And the problem is he fights at so many weight. I mean, he fought at 168. Now he fought at 154. So it's like, wow, you know. And again, like that's the main problem with African style boxing. Is it's just come forward style of fighting. And you can't come forward with that Sebastian Fedora because that dude got some as I said, that nigga got some I in his hands because you heard them things. I'm like, God, Lee, this dude got some. I don't know what he got in his hands. And the crazy thing about that kid is He said he doesn't like calling people out. And you know what's dangerous about him is the simple fact that he's so chill, so friendly outside of the ring. But when he gets in the ring, he just turns into a different animal. And I'm like, God, man, this dude is a freaking savage. Okay. So let's get on to the main event. If you've been rocking with my channel, you know that I am an Errol Spence fan. You know that I like his style. You know that I am you know that I'm Team Spence. I mean, the only mishap I had about him was he does blow up, outside of like fight camp, and he does like party and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But what I will say is that I saw in the weigh-in, he looked a little bit. When I looked at Earl Spence in the weigh-in, he looked a little bit drained. I was actually surprised that he was kind of like that lean, because usually when he weighs in at 147 on the dot. So one thing I want to say about this fight is I was questioning how he was going to look coming back from the car accident. I was looking at, okay, well, is he going to be shaken up? Is he going to be hesitant? What kind of Errol Spence are we going to see? And to be honest with you, from what I saw from that fight tonight, we saw vintage Errol Spence. We saw seek and destroy Errol Spence. And it's crazy because he was not really doing a lot of head movement at all. There was not a lot of head movement going on. He was most of the time, I would say the only time that he wasn't really flat-footed was in the rounds he took off, which are 9 and 10. But most of the fight, I would say, especially the first third of the fight, most of the fight, it was seek and destroy, wear you down, Errol Spence. Okay. Honestly, the key to his success was his rangefinder, because he kept on throwing the same. A lot of the times he would throw the same punches, but those punches would hit with purpose. Okay. The thing is about Errol Spence is that not in a fanboyism way that I'm saying this, but his shots don't look hard, but them shits are hard, okay? And they're fast. That's the thing about them. They're fast. That's why I think he came in leaner, because he wanted to throw them shits faster. And one of the reasons why I think he didn't move his head that much, and he was willing to eat some shots, because I'm not going to lie to you, he ate some shots. But I think the only reason why he ate shots is because he knew Danny Garcia couldn't really hurt him. Okay? I mean, when you look at Danny Garcia's face after the fight versus Errol Spence's face after the fight, you know who won the fight, okay? You know who won that fight. I'm going to be real with you. I never really was big on Danny Garcia. I'm just not going to lie to you. He really, no disrespect to him. I respect him for being a North Philly fighter, for being a competitor, for being a guy who did do a lot of work at 140. But at 147, I mean, I wouldn't even put it past Ugas. I wouldn't put it past Ugas to beat Danny Garcia. I'm just going to be real with you. It's just that you just saw the athleticism of Errol Spence play the biggest part. I mean, that dude was just, I'm going to tell you something. If you watch that fight and you look at Danny Garcia's face, During the fight, he's like, oh fuck, oh shit, what did I get myself into? I'm gonna tell you what this shit was like, okay? It was like watching a piranha just nibble away at a bird that fell into the water. That's all it was like. He just nibbling away until basically he was depleted. Listen, Earl Spence ate some shots from Danny Garcia, but the power that they were talking about, the quickness that they were talking about, and the like thereof was not there with Danny Garcia. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you, okay? Um, I don't know where they got that narrative from, but no disrespect, but Danny Garcia is not really that fast, you know. Um, and the crazy thing is, even though Errol Spence was flat-footed most of the fight, most of the fight, he was still able to be more mobile than Danny Garcia, who was extra flat-footed during the fight. Okay. The thing is that the reason why Danny Garcia wasn't effective in that fight, I'm gonna tell you the reason why. One of the main reasons why he wasn't effective in the fight. The fact of the matter is that Danny Garcia, he was I want to say that he was smothering. Earl Spence was on him so much that he had no choice but to smother his work. So even when Garcia was getting shots off on Earl Spence, there wasn't really that much on them. That's why Earl Spence didn't mind eating a couple of shots. Even Derrick James was not really getting on him for eating a couple of shots because he was like, at this point, oh, this nigga can't hurt me. You know, it's like, oh, whatever. You know, I'll eat a couple of shots, but this nigga can't really hurt me, so I'm willing to eat some shots. All I gotta say is that it was a good fight. I mean, it was vintage Earl Spence. Um, I guess he just felt that Garcia couldn't really do anything to him that much, so that's why he didn't mind eating some shots. But what's next for these guys? If I were Danny Garcia, I don't know, man. I would probably like maybe change my trainer from my dad, because his dad, I don't know what kind of advice his dad was giving him, but you can tell that dude was defeated the way he was eating them shits. Because that's the thing, like honestly, with Earl Spence, the crazy thing about it is he was actually winging shit, okay? He was actually winging shots because he was like, well, this nigga can't hurt me. This nigga's not gonna even time me. He didn't even think highly enough to worry about that no look hook that quote unquote Danny Garcia throws. So it's just like for me, I'm like, okay, well, obviously he's not really taking him serious, in terms of that hook. Because some of those body shots, some of those shots to the head were winged shots. But, when it's all said and done, salute to the truth, kudos to the truth for what he did. The fight that's next for him, I don't know if he has any Mandos. Sean Porter was talking that he's a Mando. At this point, I mean, Manny Pacquiao, I think he should just give up his belt because I don't see him fighting Earl Spence, especially even after tonight. You know, even if it wasn't like the best Spence because of the accident or whatever, it was a Spence that was good enough to like basically beat the brakes off of Danny Garcia. Okay, that dude beat the brakes off of him. I'm sorry to say it, but when you see him after, even when they interviewed him after the fight, that dude was still shaking up. He was like, during the interview, he was like, "Ah, I would like to thank God. I would like to thank Al Heyman." It was like it was like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's basically what it was like, you know. Danny Garcia. I mean, I don't know what's next for him. Maybe I don't know, shit, like maybe a eliminator or something for a different belt. Maybe he can go the Pacquiao route. I don't know. Um, but or even take Ugas's regular belt. That could be in the works. But you know, it just shows that that him talking all that shit and stuff like that, his dad talking all that shit. I know they were hyping up the fight and stuff like that, but dude, you got you got like whooped, and he didn't even think enough of your power to even back up, or rarely even back up. I There was so much lack of head movement in that fight that mostly Earl Spence, he just decided, man, I'm gonna block his shit with my gloves. That's pretty much what he did most of the fight. But anyhow, man, I think Terrence Crawford was in the building. So I mean, I don't see why that fight can't happen. A unification. Um, I mean, since since I mean a rematch with Sean Porter could be good too, against with Earl Spence, a rematch against Sean Porter. Uh, but I guess, they should entertain a Crawford fight. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. So but kudos to the truth again. It was a good fight, good night of boxing. They had it for the cards they had, for the fighters they had on that card, it was still it was a pretty decent card. I'm not gonna lie to you. The fights didn't disappoint. They were all pretty good fights. Overall it was a good night of boxing. But man, leave your comments on the bottom. Let me know what y'all thought about the fight. Let me know what y'all thought about Earl Spence's how he looked in the fight too. Like, just let me know what y'all thought. But Fuller signing out. Njada.